I think everyone's favourite Vulcan, Spock from Star Trek, would love this car because, as he would say, it's logical. It basically does everything that you need from a car. It's reliable, it's practical, it's economical, it's spacious, it's quick enough, it handles fine, it's safe. And not only that, but now, in 2023, you can buy one of these cars for £1,000, 1,500 quid. So the Honda Jazz, it came out in 2001, also known as the Fit in other parts of the world like North America. I mean, there was actually another one in the 80s, but I don't think anyone really remembers it. It's essentially like a small hatchback, but it's also like a small MPV. This is what makes it so incredibly practical, because they put the fuel tank, instead of it being under the back seats in the back where it normally would be, they put it in the front, so it's underneath me where I'm sat now. And then they came up with some very clever suspension design and packaged it all very, very low and small in the back. So it basically means you've got this huge box with nothing sort of protruding underneath. So you end up with a load of space in the back and this really configurable rear where you can basically set the seats up into all these different configurations. The traditional folded flat, then you can basically lift the seat bases up so you can essentially walk through the car, but it means that you can fit tall items upright, like plants and things like that. And then the other thing you could do was fold the seats completely flat backwards, so you could kind of use this car as a somewhere to sleep in a pinch at least. I've got loads of headroom, loads of legroom, loads of just space in general in this car. You don't feel enclosed. I think that's a big part of what makes this car so nice to drive, is that although you're shielded from all the outside weather, and you do still feel like you're actually able to see everything and like you're part of the environment. If you remember Sony products from the 80s and 90s, stuff like the Walkman and hi-fis and TVs and things, they had this real sort of quality, solid feeling to them, that they were designed properly and that they were built with care and that they were built to last. And that is how this Honda Jazz feels. From the engine, which sort of just starts up instantly, the interior feels really well screwed together. I mean, obviously it's not got like super luxurious feeling plastics or anything, but it just feels like it's built to last. So this is the SE Sport model, which is actually the highest spec Honda Jazz they did, and that means it's got like alloy wheels, but also it's got air conditioning, which you did also get on the SE. In the basic model, the S, you've got a CD player, electric windows up front, and that's kind of about it. Then in the SE you've got air conditioning. The engine lineup in the Jazz was really super simple. There was a 1.4, which was actually a 1.3, but Honda badged it as a 1.4, which is this car, and that basically was 90% of all Honda Jazzes sold, at least in the UK and Europe, and that's the end of the story. They did also do a 1.2 litre, which didn't sell too many. What you really want is this 1.4, because it's actually got an ample amount of power for a car like this. It's got 84 horsepower, but it's got enough speed and performance for most people, and it certainly doesn't need to be driven like it sort of famously is by older people. It has 2 spark plugs per cylinder, so it has 8 spark plugs, which is a bit like an Alfa Romeo twin spark, but it was done for reasons of fuel economy and emissions. It means that you do have a very economical car, and this car will get something like 49 mpg, which is really, really impressive for an old petrol car. But then it only weighs 1 ton, so it's very lightweight. What it does mean is that when it comes to service time, you need to replace 8 spark plugs instead of 4, and 4 of them are harder to get to. There was no diesel option for the Jazz whatsoever for this Mark 1, and at the time that was a big problem for all the journalists and everybody who was absolutely raving about diesel. But now it's not looking like such a bad decision, because diesel cars are getting taxed off the road, they're getting removed through ULEZ and stuff like that, and with the Honda Jazz you don't have to worry about that because you can't get a diesel one. So because it's like an MPV in here, you've got 5 little cubbies to store stuff, as well as 3 cup holders, and then your door pockets. The way these 2 things run along the middle of the dashboard, underneath the dashboard, it's like a French MPV or something. I love that design. I mean, I guess stuff would come flying out if you left it, big things in there, but it's little touches like you can adjust the seatbelt height here. The sun visors both have a mirror in, And then this car, because it's the SE, I believe, or the SE Sport, it's got a sunroof, and it's also got heated door mirrors as well, which some new cars don't have those. So with the gearbox range, again, it's very simple. You had a 5-speed manual and a 5-speed automatic, but there was also a CVT box. Normally I would go on about how awful CVT boxes are, but there was an interesting thing with the one that they put in the Jazz. It was a 7-speed stepped CVT, so they basically just faked the automatic gear changes to make it feel a little bit more like a normal automatic gearbox. And apparently it works. Apparently it does feel better. The first sort of downside to this car, I would say, and it's got quite a harsh, firm ride. It's not awful, but it's definitely on the firm side. It doesn't soak up bumps all that well, and it can be a little bit sort of like this as you're going along slightly undulaty British roads. But it makes up for that in the fact that it handles reasonably well. You know, the other thing is that when you're going at speed on the motorway, it's quite noisy in here. Now I'm coming up to 60 and I'm almost at 3,000 RPM, and it's getting a little bit noisier in here. Actually, it just accelerates reasonably well, even at motorway speeds. Now it's not a VTEC engine, so it's not got that 7,000 RPM redline or anything. It is like a normal engine. Okay, I'm doing 70 now, and it's more closer to 3,500, and it's getting pretty noisy in here. All the things to look out for: they can rust. Maybe check underneath the car if you're looking to buy one. The rear, they can go underneath and around the structural areas, and you're going to fail MOT for that. And also the gearboxes, although they are a pleasure to use, and it is usually a Honda strong point, you can get like a bearing failure in it, and that's going to mean a new gearbox. So just look out for the sort of whining sounds coming from the gearbox. The Jazz was a safe car for its day. It had a 4-star Euro NCAP safety rating, but it also has ABS as standard. You've got front and passenger airbags, and on a lot of the models you've got side airbags as well. A little interesting aside is that it's called the Jazz in Europe because in Scandinavia, fit, as it's called in the US and Japan, is very close to a word fitta, which is quite an offensive, rude word, so you'll just have to look that one up. I'm not sure I could get away with saying it on here, but one might argue that, you know, practicality and safety and reliability and all that is not cool, but you know what else is not cool? When you're stuck by the side of the road and your car's broken down, or when you're trying to jam your expensive plant that you just bought into the boot and it snapped in half. Big thank you to Anna, my sister, for lending me this car, but also to my great uncle Roy, who is now 89 years old, and he had to give up driving, and he owned this Jazz for about 10-15 years, and he's now given it to us as he's had to give up driving. So yeah, you're a legend, Roy, if you're watching, so thank you. And yeah, if you want to see another review of a car, then click up there, and yeah, just thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next